Here's 2 reasons why you're not becoming a better wrestler. You're training with the same people, and you're not training in the off-season. I'm Pat Lugo, 2-time Florida State champ, multiple-time Division I All-American for the University of Iowa, and I want to be the first to invite you and your family to this year's Miami Hawks wrestling event. This summer, June 6th through 9th, we'll be hosting a wrestling camp and tournament at the Miccosukee Resort in Miami, Florida. Our event will have over 10 full-size wrestling mats with some of the best coaches and athletes in the nation. We also have a big announcement coming soon, so follow the page so you don't miss out, and click the link in the bio to register.
Welcome everybody to Grinding for Greatness with your boy Ricky Cheese. We got a real special guest on Grinding for Greatness. His name is Max Murin. If you've been living under a rock, then you might not have heard that name, but if you're a wrestling fan at any level, you know exactly who he is. He's a 2-time All-American at the University of Iowa, 5-time, that's right, I said it, 5-time NCAA qualifier. He's got 78 career D1 wins, which is ridiculous. He's a 4-time academic all Big Ten honoree, which is the most, that's what I'm most impressed with. See, he's a smart guy as well. Back in high school, he was a 2-time Pennsylvania state champ, 4-time placer, got second at 126, fifth at 113, but he placed 4 times, 2-time champ, 3-time Fargo All-American, second, third, and fourth, and he's a 4-year team captain at Iowa. Now that I'm out of breath with all your damn accolades, Max, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Hey, thanks for having me, Ricky.
Of course, man. Hey, any friend of Pat Lugo is a friend of ours, and I'm really, really excited and honored to have you on the show. So thank you very much for coming on. Where are you at right now? You're in Iowa right now?
No, I'm actually in Providence, Rhode Island.
What are you doing in Providence, man?
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy when we talk about having the chem dog on next.
Yeah.
So after I graduated from Iowa, I actually went on like a national wrestling camp tour.
Okay.
So I went to like 30 different states and just did camps.
Wow.
And I was traveling like crazy over the summer, man. Like I was literally in Montana one day, and then the next day I was in Tennessee, and then the next day I was in Alaska, then I was in Hawaii. It was crazy.
That's
And
unbelievable. And
yeah,
they pay your travel expenses and everything?
yeah. So a lot of them paid my travel expenses. Actually, so my dad he works at the airport. He just retired from his job, started working at the airport. So I had free flights through United.
Oh,
So it kind of like I was on standby though, so occasionally they'd pay for my flight, but most of the time I just fly on standby,
awesome.
go to a camp, and then just like I was just traveling like crazy. I was gone like 3 months straight. So I graduated from or I didn't even graduate yet. I guess I season was over on like Saturday, and then on Monday I was in Nevada like literally right away, and I was just traveling right away. And
Great.
it was crazy, man. I was going all over the place. It was a great experience. I met amazing people,
That's
and
awesome.
yeah. So I was traveling a bunch, and then while I was doing that, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And I absolutely love University of Iowa. I love everyone in the Iowa wrestling program in Iowa City, but I was kind of ready for something else. I was there for 6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, literally COVID year. I felt like I was an old man on campus, and
No
I,
matter where you are for that long, it's got to get, a little tiresome.
Oh, I know. I was telling everyone I was a doctor at that point, just to like, just to make it sound better.
Yeah.
But
Why were you at Iowa for 6, 7 years?
yeah, no kidding. I'm a doctor. I'm going for my doctorate. Yeah, that's what.
That's
But,
fucking hilarious, man. That's great.
uh,
So
but
being in Providence, I'm kind of friendly with the D3 coach at Johnson and Wales, Ronnie
yeah,
Morris. Have you done a camp at Johnson and Wales yet?
no. So I met him multiple times. He's a great guy. But
Super guy.
so what happened was I was traveling all that, and while I was traveling, Mickey Philippi, who
Yeah.
is yeah, Pitt guy. I grew up with him. Took a job at Brown University, and
Okay.
he took a job with Jordan Lean, who is an amazing guy. He's the head coach.
Cornell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cornell national champ,
Yep.
amazing guy. I'd say he's one of my best friends right now. But he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, you should look into coming to Brown." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'll look into it." I was like, "Where's Brown at?" He's like, "Rhode Island." And I was like,
Hmm.
"I don't even know where Rhode Island's at." So
It's probably not much bigger than Iowa, if
No, oh
bigger
my
at all.
gosh, it's literally. I mean, I think if you can drive through the whole state in like 40 some minutes, it's crazy. It's
Wow.
tiny,
That's
but
that's nuts, man.
he reached out to me. He was like, "You should look into it." I was like, "All right, I'll look into it." And I went and looked there, and Rhode Island's awesome, man. Like, I don't know if you've ever been there, but you have the ocean. So like you have the beach, you
Mhm.
have like mountains you can like ski, snowboard at, and you have like Boston within like a 2 hour radius. Like you just do all of them within like I can go to go snowboarding this week. Next week I could go to the beach, and then I could go to Boston. Like all like
Oh,
it's all
that's
probably the
cool
same
shit.
distance. It's crazy,
Yeah,
especially
that's
compared to
amazing.
Iowa where nothing's close. But so I
Yeah.
can't want to visit. I was like, I like it, but I wanted to do something more than wrestling. Uh, and Jordan Lee reached out to me. He was like, "What are you interested in?" I was like, and I told him real estate investing.
Mhm.
And he goes, "Well, one of our like alumni is a huge real estate investor." He goes, "Like, let me talk to him." So he talked to him, and he actually offered me a job uh, with his company, like real estate investing, property management, and then also have a job through the RTC. So I'm
Dude,
coaching
that's
through the RTC, and
amazing.
I'm doing real estate investing, property management with one of the alumni. And I mean, it's just a great deal. That's the awesome thing about like Brown is the alumni are so involved, and they help out so much that I mean, like literally, guys who pretty much have jobs right out of college with these huge companies, these banking companies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was a great opportunity, and I was like, oh, I'm not like I'm interested in real estate investing. I still want to be involved with wrestling. It's a great opportunity. So I decided to come out in September. So I came out to Brown University, and I've been living here, actually in one of the alumni's places. And so I work at like a job for 6 hours a day, and then I work with the Brown OTC. So I'm in there with practicing like wrestling with the college guys every day.
That is so damn cool, man. There's something to be said about those Ivy League schools. The alumni, there's always somebody that's going to take care of you. If you're in that brotherhood, that wrestling brotherhood, even if you didn't go there, if you got connections there, or you were a D1 guy and had the success that you did, and even without the success, they just take care of each other, man. So you're a perfect example of how that whole system works, man. What a cool deal, man. I'm happy for you. I think you'll
Yeah,
like it, man.
it-
Anytime you can do something that you love and you're making money for it, you ain't working, bro.
yeah,
Remember that. I'm telling you. So that's
yeah,
awesome. So, Iowa, we were kind of talking a little bit about it being, you kind of got sick of being there for a while. You love it, but anytime you're anywhere for that long, I remember my oldest son didn't start wrestling until he was in ninth grade. He was brand new, never even saw a wrestling mat. Even though I wrestled all through, youth, high school, college, I just never got my kids into it. I wanted them to do what they wanted to do, and they chose football and baseball. But in ninth grade, wrestling coach, he's a 103-pounder, plucked him out of the hall and said, "You're going to wrestle." So he wrestled. He was okay. He didn't never placed at state. Not my oldest one. My other two did, but my oldest one didn't. But he wound up wrestling in college in Division III in Iowa. He went to Buena Vista
okay,
University
yeah, yeah, yeah,
in Storm Lake, Iowa. And I remember him telling me, I'd call him up and say, "Hey, Nick, man, what's going on? How's it?" He's like, "Dad, man, it fucking sucks up here." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Dude, we got a Walmart and a Taco John, and that's it. There's cornfields everywhere." And this is a Florida beach kid, man. He grew up,
yeah.
born, raised in Florida. So he's a big city kid. So I can definitely understand where you're coming from. So let's talk a little bit about the whole Iowa experience. Being a kid out of Pennsylvania, was there any pressure, like in being either from your family or your friends and coaches to go to Penn State? Like as a Pennsylvania kid, there had to be some kind of pressure, right?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty crazy. My the whole experience between like Iowa and Penn State and whatever else. But so growing up, my club I went to Young Guns,
Oh, all the
and
studs in Pennsylvania
yeah,
were young guns.
oh, it was crazy. I mean, oh, like I
Jody
remember
Strickmatter.
Jody Strittmatter. Yeah, so Jody Strittmatter and I grew up in the same hometown. Yeah, we grew up in the same hometown. So Evansburg, Pennsylvania. It's like 3,000 people there.
Wow.
It's tiny, but I was super lucky. I just grew up in this random town. It just happened to be the same town as Jody Strittmatter. And uh and I So I knew of Iowa because I'd hear all these stories about Jody. Like Jody would tell
Mhm.
like all these Iowa stories. He wasn't really pushing us, but he would just like tell stories. And like
Sure.
I got super. And then that was also when like it was Metcalf and Morningstar and like
Oh
all
yeah.
those guys. Dennis, they all went in like how many team national? They won like 3 team national titles in a row.
Yeah, they were
So it
stood.
was killing. So I was a huge Iowa fan. So actually, like I wrote a letter to myself in 5th grade. We like, had to write a letter to ourselves, and it was like, when I grow up, I'm going to do this. And I wrote a letter to myself, and like you weren't supposed to open it until your senior year of high school. So I wrote that I was going to like wrestle at Iowa. So I wrote down in 5th grade I was going to wrestle at Iowa. I was a huge fan. And then like a 5th grade teacher took it and like, gave it back to us our senior year. And it goes on, and like I'm in 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and I'm not very good at wrestling. Like I'm tough, but like I'm not placing in the state. Like
Okay.
the Iowa dream is like a far, like it's like I remember my dad talking. I overheard him talking. He's like, if my son could wrestle Division 3, I'd be excited. Like it's just like, and I mean it's awesome to wrestle Division 3.
Of
I mean
course.
I just
Any
did,
college
yeah.
level.
I'm not knocking on the D3 guys. I'm just
Right,
saying
right, right.
I did not think I was have any chance of wrestling at Iowa. And in 8th grade, I uh, didn't place in the state tournament. I lost in the blood round for the second year in a row to actually Cameron's cousin is the one who beat me, Luke
Now we're
Cameron.
talking middle school states now, or
Yeah,
you
middle school states. Yeah,
middle
eighth
school?
grade.
Okay.
I lost. Yeah, in Pennsylvania, you're not allowed to wrestle in high school states until you're in ninth grade, which I think is different than Florida, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. In Florida, if you go to a K through 12, and you're good enough to make the varsity, we had sixth graders wrestling.
Oh
It's
wow.
ridiculous. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
I saw Marco's son just actually
Yeah,
won
both
a
of
state
them,
title. Yeah,
both of
which is
them.
awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 8th grade I didn't place in the state, and I wonder. I thought I was doing everything right. Like I was like what do I need to do? I was waking up like before school, working out. I was doing all these workouts, and I remember I go to John Strip Matter, so Jody's brother.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do I need to do to be good? And he was like, follow Gavin Teasdale around for a
Okay.
whole year. I don't know
Yeah.
if you remember Gavin
Oh
Teasdale.
yeah, of
But
course.
he was an absolute beast. And he said, follow Gavin Teasdale around for a full year. So for a full year, I like every practice Gavin went to, I went to. Every tournament Gavin went to, I went to.
He went to Penn State, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he went to both Penn State and Iowa actually.
Okay. Okay.
But he was a stud. And I'm telling you, he would like kick my ass
Yeah,
every
Gavin was a
day.
fucking beast.
Yeah,
Beast.
like if he like slipped on a wet spot and like I like took him down, like I was excited. Like I was going home telling my dad that I took down Gavin. Like it was like he was
I love
beating
it.
me bad.
Yeah.
And I went from not placing as an 8th grader, and then like I'm following Gavin around, I'm doing all the right things. I think like I'm doing amazing. And I go to a preseason tournament. It's called Cliff King Nationals.
I remember that.
And I go 0-2 and get pinned twice.
Oh.
My freshman year, the first tournament, the first time I ever wrestled for 106, I would go 0-2 and get pinned twice. And I remember being like, my dad was like, "It's gonna be a long year." And
Yeah,
I was
like
like, "Oh my
what do you
god!"
do? Like what are you thinking?
I'm like, I've been literally following. I've been practicing Gavin, like the one of the best kids in the country, every day. I literally wake up before school. I'm doing everything, and literally, like, I just went. I never went 0-2 and got pinned twice, and I just got 0-2 and got pinned twice. And I was like, I'm actually going backwards. And then something crazy happened where, like, after that, I didn't lose again until the state semis as a freshman in high school. And I weighed about 95 pounds as a freshman in high school. Like my
Yeah,
last day of the state tournament, I weighed 99.9, wrestling like
crazy.
108 pounders, and
Yeah.
I think there was allowance. But so I was super small, but I was scrapping. I actually went undefeated in the high school season, and then I lost in the state semifinals. And all of a sudden, I was like, "Holy cow! Like, how did that happen?" And so I'm like, I'm getting better. My confidence is getting higher. My confidence is getting higher. And I go to Fargo. I'm getting ready for Fargo uh, as a freshman. I've never been to Fargo before, but I mean, as you know, it's probably the toughest high school
Of
tournament there
course.
is.
Yeah.
And I'm getting ready, and Ryan Morningstar, the assistant coach at Iowa,
Mhm.
comes to uh, a Young Guns practice to like recruit like Vincenzo Joseph and
Mhm.
Michael Cameron and Caleb Young and all these studs, Josh Shields. He's come into a practice to recruit all these guys. And I used to ride with Jody Stripmatter because we're from the same hometown. So I
Yeah.
used to carpool with him. He'd pick me up on his way and just take me. And so we show up super early. I'm with the coach. I'm sitting in the locker room by myself. I'm like a couple weeks out from Fargo. I just have a decent freshman year. I take fifth as a freshman, and I'm sitting there, and Ryan Morningstar goes, "Hey, buddy, like, what's your name?" I tell him my name. He's like, "Are you going to Fargo?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going." He's like, "What weight?" I'm like, 100 pounds. He's like, "All right, I'll keep my eye out for you." And I was like, "Oh, like that's awesome." But like, he's just like he'd say it to anyone. Like, all right, yeah. I ended up having a really good Fargo, and I actually right before I step on the mat, the semifinals, Ryan Morningstar standing there, and he goes, "Hey, like I've been watching you all tournament. You're doing great." And I tech my guy in the semifinals, and then I actually lost to Roman Bravo Young in the finals
Oh,
at
wow.
100 pound cadet 100 pounds. And so I went from not placing as an eighth grader in the state to taking second at Fargo as a freshman. So
That's crazy.
it was a crazy year, but and I mean I went from 0-2 getting 0-2 barbecued getting pinned twice to taking second. It was a crazy transition year, but I ended up after that. I remember Iowa, like they were allowed to send you like letters, so Ryan once I sent like a handwritten letter, and then that's when the recruiting process started. I mean, I can just keep on going on, but
That's
my June,
crazy.
yeah, and then my June, the first day of calling, I remember like I was just like waiting, like I was waiting by the phone all day, and I ended up falling asleep taking a nap, and I woke up and I had a missed call from an Iowa number, and I was like,
Oh,
and I
shit.
called it back, and it was a morning star, and then this is actually a funny story though. So I'm like, my freshman year, I'm like ready to commit. I'm like, I love Iowa. I want to go to Iowa my whole life. Like, I was ready to commit as a freshman. I was like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. And then later in my junior year, I started getting recruited by Penn State. And like, I'm going up there on Saturdays, like training with the guys, wrestling live with like Nico Megaludis, Jimmy
Hmm.
Golubon, Conway,
Wow.
Rutherford. I'm wrestling all those guys. And I'm like, this is awesome. And I'm like, they're starting to recruit me. So I'm like, I love Iowa, but Penn State's winning right now. Like it's super close to home.
Yeah.
My mom was alumni, so she was pushing super hard.
Oh, jeez.
So I was like, ah. And first day of this is pretty funny, but first day of home visits, I had Terry Brands come to my house like 8 a.m.
Oh, my God.
and Terry's there, and I had Penn State coming at 10 a.m. and
Tell
Terry's
me they
sitting.
ran into each other.
Yeah, no, well, Terry's sitting there, and it's like he's sitting there like telling stories, and like I'm having a great talk, but like I'm looking at the clock, and it's like 9:30, 9:45, and like my
Oh,
mom like looks at me, and she's like, "You have to tell like Terry that Penn State's coming," and I'm
oh,
like
my God.
shaking. I'm so scared.
Oh, I'd be shit my pants.
Uh-huh. And I look at Terry, and I'm like, Coach Brands, Penn State, Penn State's coming. Penn State's coming at 10. You can stay if you want, but like I just want to let you know they're coming. And
You can say if you want.
he was
What
super
did he
cool about
say?
it. Yeah, he was like, I know, I understand. But like I remember my grandma made like a bunch of like chicken cordon bleu for all the coaches because I
Nice.
had Iowa, Penn State, and Pitt. And he's like, I'm leaving, but I'm gonna take all this chicken cordon bleu. So my parents like packed it up, and Penn State and Pitt didn't get any chicken cordon bleu.
That's the
But
best. Way to go,
yeah,
Brands. I love that.
uh,
That
and
sounds like
then
something Brands would do.
yeah, it was awesome. But it was yeah. He had a super unique visit though, because like I remember he still talks about it. He came over and like I had like a home gym. My parents have a home gym at their house, and like they have like these like obstacle course, like they used to like swing on and stuff. And I was swinging on the obstacle course, but then they came time for like finances, and they like my parents were like trying to like make it like figure out how to make it work and whatever else,
Right.
and they're like, yeah, like you'll get like this much money, but like if academically you'll get this much money, whatever else. He goes, if you guys like since you guys are married, you won't get the same amount of money. And my dad is a pretty funny guy, and he looked at Terry and he's like, well, maybe we should just get a divorce then,
I'll
and
get
then
rid of her.
we should get a divorce, and then then he'll be able to go there even cheaper.
Oh,
And
that's the
Terry
best.
was started laughing. He still tells the story. He goes, yeah, only the Murin family they were gonna get Mike Muir was going to divorce his wife so his son could wrestle at Iowa.
That's crazy.
But yeah,
So at what point? All right, so you got Brands comes. Obviously, that's crazy to even think about Brands sitting in your friggin' living room with you. But
yeah.
then now, who showed up for Penn State? Was it Kale, or does he have somebody in charge of recruiting?
So it was Casey Cunningham. He was
Okay, I
actually
remember Casey.
he's an awesome guy. He's
Yeah,
an amazing coach too. I mean, that if you hear a lot of the interviews that talk about like Coach Casey, but
yeah.
he's a great guy too. So yeah, I had Casey Cunningham come like literally a couple minutes after Terry left, and luckily they didn't cross paths or anything. I think it would have been pretty civil, but I didn't want to be in that situation.
Yeah, well, it was definitely be uncomfortable for me too.
Yeah.
So you had Iowa, Penn State, and who? Pitt, you said?
Yeah, I'd Pitt come later in the day too, and I used to go up to like the Pitt Wrestling Club. They used to have workouts for high school kids, so
Okay.
I'd go up there all the time, and I'd wrestle college guys. So I really I love Pittsburgh to death. I'm a huge Steelers fan, so
Yeah.
I was definitely considering Pitt too.
So at what point did you actually know you were going to commit, and at what point did you actually commit, and how did you do it?
Yeah, so I mean, kind of just the story of my life. The very unconventional. Everything that happens to me is super unconventional, and like, but I I'm like back and forth, back and forth. I don't know if I want to go to Penn. I know it's between Penn State and Iowa at this point, and I don't. It's like one day I want to go to Penn State, the other day I want to go to Iowa, and I'm at like I go to Iowa and I absolutely love it. I'm going on visits and I'm staying with like Michael Kemmer, who's my best friend now. And actually, I was going to tell you he's actually at Brown too, but we'll get
Yeah,
into that
yeah.
later. But like Michael Kemmer was there, Caleb Young, so all these guys I grew up with were there, and I go and hang out in Iowa City. It was awesome. I loved it. So I'd go on visits there, but then I'd also come home and like sneakily like go back to Penn State. Like I was like playing both sides. Felt like I was like cheating on a girlfriend or something. I was playing both
Exactly.
sides. But one day, this is funny, but I get a call from Tom, and it's pretty much like, "Hey, like we've been recruiting you for the last 4 years. Like you need to stop messing around. Like what's your decision?" He's like, we need to know. Like
Oh, he
if
fucking
you
called you out, man.
yeah, he
He
called me
said,
out, and
"Shit or get off the pot."
I deserved it too because I was playing both sides. I was like, and he was like, he pretty much was like, hey, like you need to decide in the next couple of days, or we're gonna move on from you. And
Wow.
that instantly put a jolt in me where I was like, I need to make
Oh
a
yeah.
decision. And it pretty much came down to is like I wanted to be a Hawkeye my whole life. I absolutely love it there. I love the people there. I love the environment. I was like, let's just do it. And I called
Okay.
him back the next day and I was like, hey, I'm gonna commit. I was and then that's when they were like it was super big to like post it on like Twitter, and I was like, I'll make my Twitter announcement on like Friday, and it was like a Thursday. So then I just waited, and then I made the announcement, and then I got interviewed by a couple guys, and that's pretty much it. It wasn't very wasn't anything huge, but
That's
leading
pretty
up to it
cool,
was pretty
man.
funny.
Yeah, I bet, man. I tell you what, you don't think that's huge, but for the average kid, he doesn't have brands sitting in his freaking living room, being able to announce something like that on Twitter is a fucking huge deal. But
Yeah,
you know, growing up where you grew up and being able to wrestle with young guns and just go to, you know, uh, Penn State wrestling room or Pitt, that's huge, man. I mean, you got to understand 99% of the kids in this country don't have that opportunity. It had to have made you better. I mean,
yeah,
obviously the old saying iron sharpens iron.
hmm
You've been around iron your entire life, pretty much. All those guys you train with, every name you drop was heavy hitters.
yeah,
So, man, you very very fortunate in that way.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that is the thing is I definitely didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, I'm like I'm so grateful for
Oh
like
yeah,
the area I grew up in, the people I grew up around, the straight matters, just like the coaches I had,
yeah,
stuff like that. Where I'm like I am super like you don't really realize it when you're in it, but like once you like step away a little bit, you're like, oh, that was awesome.
yeah.
That was a great time.
Now, let me ask you this question. It might be a little bit uncomfortable, but I don't give a shit. I'm gonna ask it
All
anyways.
right, I
When
like it.
Lugo got to Iowa, weren't you guys like around the same weight?
So when Lugo got there, so this is funny actually. So Lugo. So when he came out, so he was a transfer, and I was a freshman the same year. So we were coming in the same year.
Yeah, he was a little older. Yeah,
Yeah, but we were pretty much we redshirted the same year because like he didn't redshirt in Edinburgh, but he was out there in the summer, and I was out there in the summer. So we actually hung out a lot because it was during the camps. and the guys on the team would have to work the camp. So me and Lugo just like, while the other guys were like grinding super hard, we just like lay around and watch movies and like get ready for practice. like
Fucking
like
Lugo.
we were like we had it made. Like, we just kind of hung out and just got ready for practice, and the other guys were doing like these long like camp sessions and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I met Lugo pretty on, and I kind of like he was a lot. So I was pretty small coming out of high school. I was like didn't really hit puberty or anything until like my senior year of high school. So I actually thought it was gonna be a 33 pounder,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew he was gonna be a 49 pounder. So I knew that it wasn't uh like we probably weren't gonna like wrestle much like competitively besides
Right.
like practice and stuff.
Yeah.
And then after my first couple, like I tried to make 33 for the wrestle off, and I couldn't get down. So I was just like, I called Tom. I was like, hey, I want to wrestle 41, and I remember him. He was like, you're a 41 pounder anyways. So yeah, so
Who
I
was
knew.
33? If you made
Yeah.
it, who would you have had to wrestle off?
That was the year before DeSantos. There were like guys like Paul Glenn and Phil Laux, and I think Paul Glenn ended up being the starter. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, when a lot of guys they come out of high school and they think that they have to like cut a bunch of weight to in college and stuff like that. But I mean, you don't realize how much you lift and how much you grow
Right.
even when you're in college. So I
Yeah.
ended up being a 41 pounder for the first couple years. So I actually like I love that Lugo was around my weight class actually because he's an incredible training partner to have.
Yeah. I bet he grinds, man. Right.
Oh, he's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
He works so hard. He's just a good dude.
Yeah. He really is, man. Have you ever met Ozzy, his brother?
Yeah. So
Ozzy's the man.
I got pretty close with the Lugo family because me, Kemmer, and Lugo would always go down to Miami together,
Oh,
and so we were
Jesus.
around like Pat Senior and Ozzy and the whole family, and they're
Oh, yeah.
incredible. They're just like I always say this. They're just genuinely like really really
Yep.
good people,
Yep.
and
I
like
tell
like
that to people all the time, man.
This summer, June 6th through 9th, at the Miami Hawks Wrestling event, Nosomi Pozo from the Eagle Empire and Coach Duck from the Gladiator Wrestling Club will be the first two coaches announced. Nosomi Pozo,
I'm a shark. I live in deep water.
two-time JUCO champion, two-time NCAA champion, currently the head coach at St. Thomas University. Coach Duck, 2022 Florida National Hall of Famer, currently the head assistant coach at Stockdale High School. And we got more big announcements coming soon, so make sure you follow the Florida Wrestling Room and the Miami Hawks Wrestling Club Instagram and Facebook for all updates. Click the link in the bottom to register.
gosh, man.
I've known the Lugos since, well, my son Bryce started when he was 5, and he wound up. So this is a funny story. The very first time I ever met the Lugos. Me and his dad might not remember it this way, but me and Pat Senior, we kind of got a little chippy with each other because it was a tournament. It was my son's very first tournament, and he had to wrestle Ozzy. They were 45 pounds, like not 145, like 45 pounds.
Yeah,
They were like little kids, 6, 7 years old, whatever, 6 years old. So they were both brand new, but just fucking tough little bastards and just really good athletes. So they were wrestling, and they wound up wrestling. There was only like 3 kids in the weight class, so they wound up wrestling like twice. And Bryce beat them both times, and close matches. So then Pat Senior, their dad, comes up and says, "Hey man, your son's pretty good. Why don't you let him wrestle? My older son. He's only 50 pounds because Pat was little, man. He was older, but he was still little. He only weighed like 50 or 55." And, it was my son's very first tournament. He had enough matches. I mean, it was, even though he won, he got beat up a little bit. So I looked at him. I'm like, "What do you want to do?" He goes, "I'm just tired." I'm like, "All right, what pussy, whatever." But I said, "Yeah, nah, he's good. He's good." He's like, "Come on, man. He beat my kid twice. Let him wrestle my older one." I'm like, "What the fuck, man? Dude, what are you talking?" But after that, everything was cool, man. We laughed about it after that. But yeah, when you say just genuinely good people, bro, you're not exaggerating.
Yeah.
They're such good people. I would do anything for Pat and the whole family.
Oh,
And just good people, man.
yeah, they're amazing, man. I mean, I remember the year that Nationals got canceled, 2020. So our team was ranked number 1. Pat was ranked number 1. We were like firing on all cylinders. We were really good, but Nationals got canceled,
That sucked, man.
and it sucked, man. And like we were just like everyone was kind of depressed. We were sitting in our city, and Tom's an incredible coach. every piece of advice he says is just absolutely hits home. But he was like, "Hey, you guys need to get out of here." He's like, "You guys need to go down, like go somewhere, go to a beach, go to Miami or something." And Pat Senior set up this like incredible trip. They're like 15 guys, and like to this day, every time you're around the guys, we still just talk about the Miami trip. But we were like with the alligators. We were
Oh, yeah.
in the Everglades. We were like doing all this stuff with Pat Senior, and he just set it up. Was paying for everything. It was crazy, and we're like, he's just like genuinely just amazing guy. Just
Solid people.
they're hard to beat, man. They're just good people.
Absolutely. So every day was that like your main training partner when Pat got there? Were you guys like main training partners there?
Yeah, so we used to wrestle a ton, especially the red shirt year. So like the red shirts especially are like grinding all the time. And we would wrestle all the time. And I just remember him being super strong, having amazing underhooks, and he was super tough too. And the older we got, the less we kind of started the less we wrestled just because it's different. Like you when you're in season and you're like training every day, like you don't really wrestle the top guys every day. You kind of wrestling like the younger guys or like the
Right.
backups and stuff like
Yep.
that more. So we still wrestle a decent amount as we got older, but nothing like that. Like the first year we were like wrestling like every week.
Yeah.
And every time it was a scrap, man. I mean just
Oh
he's
yeah.
just a tough dude.
Yeah, he was big into the Greco. I remember that. So when you said to dig in them underhooks, man, he was
Uh-huh.
always trying to jack you up and throw you.
Oh
Pat,
yeah.
he's like a little bull, man. And
Yeah.
let me tell you something. So everybody always thought that like Ozzy was going to be like the best one. I mean, they knew that Pat was great,
Mhm.
but Ozzy was a 3-time state champ, man, at South Dade, which is like the powerhouse.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know much about it, but
Yeah,
South
yeah.
Dade is like, yeah, they're the number one team.
Mhm.
Uh, they're 3A. So we got 1A. How many classes do you have in PA?
PA
Is it
we just
just
have we have double A and triple A, so there's
okay?
two.
So you got two. So we got 1A, 2A, and 3A. 3As are the largest, 2A are the middles, and the 1As are the small schools. Um, so South Dade, year after year after year, they win the 3A state title. I think they've got like 24 state titles, maybe 25 now after this year, but they're incredible. So, yeah, Pat comes from the best possible training you can get. But everyone thought that Ozzy was going to be, the best. And you know what? Maybe if he would have stuck with it, who knows what he could have done? Because he's got exactly what Pat has. But Pat's a beast, man. I
Mhm.
definitely think I tell people all the time. There's no doubt in my mind. Had COVID not robbed you guys, Pat would have won a national
Oh,
title that year. He
yeah,
was ranked number one in the country.
and the thing about Pat too is like he was the man to win the national title. I mean, like obviously you still have to go out there and win it, but
Right.
like he was the heavy favorite.
Yeah.
Everyone knew he was the heavy favorite, and he got absolutely screwed over. And he will never complain about it once.
No.
He will never be like, "Oh, I should have been a national champ." Like
Right.
he'll never bring it up a single time. And that's the thing. That's what you like gotta love and respect about the guys. He's just
It's so
like,
funny you just said that because last week when he was on this podcast, I asked him about that, and he said, "No, actually, Ricky, you know what? I actually I'm grateful that happened." I'm like, wait, you got to explain. What do you mean you're grateful? And he went on to this whole thing about how, it made him realize what life is all about and that it could have been worse. And, he had a really good, however many years in Iowa and, it got him to the next level. It was just an unbelievable optimistic way of looking at it.
Mhm.
And like you said, you got to love a guy like that, man,
Oh,
because
yeah, he's awesome. I mean,
me,
I
I
how
would have
many?
been like, oh, it's bullshit, man. I would have been, I would have been
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
But
And like,
not him, man.
no, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, it's all about your response, right? And he's an incredible response to it. There's nothing. It's out of your control. Like, there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
And he just has amazing response. He just shows the type of person he is. He's just a really good dude.
Yeah. It's just it speaks volumes about his character. But what
Mm.
about you, man? I mean, you had a really good shot at winning a national title too at 41, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, Pat was the man, though. I mean, Pat was the number one guy in the country.
Yeah.
Almost. I mean, I think he had maybe one loss, and the loss was just like it was a controversial loss. He ended up beating in the end, anyways. But the thing is, like the guys who got screwed over, really the seniors who it was their
Right.
last
Didn't
year
get there.
eligibility, and they weren't able to wrestle that year, and then like and then everyone else got an extra year besides them. So that I just didn't really understand that. And
I
I mean,
still
that's
don't understand it. He explained it, and I even after that, I still don't get it, man.
no,
It's
yeah,
just it ain't right.
they screwed over those seniors, man. And I mean, that's and I mean, like Pat said though, I mean, it is what it is, and
Mhm.
you gotta just I mean, you gotta be
Move
optimistic
on.
about it. I mean, you
Yep.
can't change it now. So,
Nope.
but yeah,
Can't.
I mean, I mean, it shows his character though, man. How many, like what you said, how many guys would just be playing the victim and just complaining about it the rest of their lives, and they should have, could have, whatever,
Yep.
would have done
Shoulda,
that.
woulda. Yep.
Yeah, but
Exactly. But where were you ranked in the country? You were ranked.
yeah, I mean, that year I was ranked pretty high. I had like they were Nick Lee and Luke Pletcher were like the top two guys.
Yeah.
They were killing it all year. But I mean, I was ranked like third at some
Yeah.
point. I was
That's what
ranked,
I thought. I thought you
yeah,
were a top five guy.
yeah, I was ranked third. I think my seed was lower though. I mean, there's like the seeds are really never compared to the rankings. I might have been like seeded like sixth or seventh or something like that. But yeah, I mean, like the whole team. I think I saw a statistic. It was like at one point 9 out of 10 guys were ranked in the top three, which is absolutely nuts.
That's crazy.
That team, I mean, it was loaded, and we were having a lot. The thing about that team too is we were having a lot of fun too. Like we were just like enjoying each other's company. Like everything was fun, and that's the thing that stinks the most is like it was like probably my favorite team, my favorite year at college, and we didn't get to like go to nationals. But I mean,
Yeah.
kind of like what Pat said. I mean, it did make us better. I mean, it showed us like perseverance and stuff like that. And I mean, it gave me a sixth year, and literally, if I didn't have a sixth year, I wouldn't have made the podium. So,
Right.
like you got to be super grateful of it, obviously.
For sure. For sure. So let, tell me about, I asked Pat this, but I'm going to ask you the same thing. Um, how much shit does brands let you guys get away with as far as in the wrestling room? Like if you guys are going at it, I mean, you guys all love each other when you walk out that door, but it's got to get a little chippy at times. Throwing an extra elbow or pushing a guy into the fucking wall or dropping somebody on their head. How much of that shit does he let you guys get away with?
Yeah, Tom and Terry are awesome, man. They're like the way best way to explain them is like I'm like in the room they were like super intense. They're like they're like yelling, they're spitting everywhere, and then as soon as they walk out of the room, they're like the goofiest, like most fun guys ever.
Oh, I love
it's
that.
a crazy transition. Most people don't know the other side of them, but they yeah they don't really put up with much. I mean it does get chippy. I mean, literally, you scrapping hard. It feels like you're scrapping for your life out there, and you are
Yeah.
a cheap shot. And I'm sure I punched Pat in the face multiple times. I'm sure I'd done some cheap shots to my teammates, but they usually call you out on it. They'd be like, unsportsmanlike conduct, Murin, 1 point, Lugo. And like they're like and they kinda
That's great.
they like say that stuff and it kinda like makes it like worse for you. Or you're like, oh you
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? Like
Yeah.
instead of like playing into it, they kinda like make it they turn it into wrestling. They'll be
Right.
like, disqualification, you're out of here
I
and
love
just
it.
like
That's
it's
so funny,
awesome.
man. It kind of lightens the whole mood back
Yeah.
up, and how can you keep going after that, man?
Yeah.
Now, as far as I asked Pat this question, I'm also ask Kemmerer, if you had to go to war, if you were in a street fight. And you knew three guys were coming at you, and it was just you, and you got to pick one guy from your team to have your back and swinging with you. Who are you picking?
Oh, that's a tough one, man. There's like the thing is at
What Pat
Iowa,
said.
it's almost like who wouldn't you pick? You know what I mean? It's
Oh,
like
cool.
it's harder to think of guys I wouldn't pick than guys
Wow.
I would pick. You know what I mean?
That's
But
an
I
awesome
don't know.
answer, man.
Yeah,
That's an
yeah, I don't
awesome
know.
answer.
That's a good question. I mean,
So
I
you're
feel like
comfortable with any of them, going to war with
yeah,
any of them?
I do. I feel pretty confident with the majority of like I'm in a street fight and like a guy's coming at me and I need one. And it's like I can pretty much pick one out of a hat. I feel pretty confident with them.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
I love that answer. That's so cool, man. How fun were the trips when you guys were going like on far trips? How much
yeah,
fun were those trips?
yeah. They were so honestly like they were fun, but they were like more like we like business trips, man. Like we would go in there to like take care of business, and then we were like coming back. Like
Yeah.
it was like the bus rides and stuff were fun, but it was like it was all about let's take care of business, and then like we'll have fun when we get back. But they were still like little stuff, man. Like you in the hotel and like and you just like sitting there, and then like you just joking around with your buddies, and it's just like that's the stuff that like you love. It's like not even like that's the stuff you miss too. Where it's like, yeah, wrestling in front of like all those people are awesome, but like the behind the scenes stuff is like the fun and like funny stuff where you're laughing at each other and you're like messing around. Like that's what made the road trip so fun. Is just you're just around your buddies all the time.
Yeah, and you just reminded me about something when you said wrestling in front of the crowd. How amazing is it walking into Carver Hawkeye,
Oh
seeing 15,000 people on a nightly basis, like that's normal,
yeah,
and having that speaker system call out at 141 max, like, and people going nuts. Do you feel
yeah,
like a rock star?
yeah. You do. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's like it has to be like the best wrestling
It's
environment
like a
there
high,
is.
right?
Yeah, and
It
like
is.
you get a pin or something, and like it feels like the place is like exploding. Like it's like vibrating. You get your eardrums, and it's like your adrenaline's pumping. There's no better feeling like than getting like a big win or like a pin at Carver Hawkeye Arena.
What was
And
your
it's like
biggest match at Carver? Like your best win, your biggest match?
that's a tough one. The Penn State match is always like the best.
Yeah.
We wrestled Penn State. And that was a good one. I actually crazy story about the Penn State match. I wrestled Bo Bartlett, who he was young then, but he's a stud now.
Oh yeah.
But I wrestled him, and we went out of bounds. And when we got out of bounds late in the first period, like something like I don't know if his like elbow caught my eye or something, but he hit me like right in the cornea, and I didn't know at the time. But like I'm walking by the center, I'm like I'm going like this with my eye, and I'm like trying to like rub it, and all of a sudden my eye just goes black,
Oh no.
and I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, this is not
And
good.
no, this is not good. But at like they train you at at Iowa, it's just focus on wrestling, just focus on wrestling. And I knew if I took an injury time, he would have a choice, and it was a close match. And I was like, you know what, like I'm fine, I'm fine. And I just come on saying I'm fine, and I ended up like beating him. I took him down at the end, and I'm walking off the mat, and I'm like, I can't see in my left eye, like I'm like completely blind in my left eye. And I went up to the coaches, and I was like, I'm blind. They're like, good job. And I'm like, I'm blind. I'm blind in my left eye. And
What
they were
was it?
like, what? And I was like, I'm
What did it
blind
turn
in my
out to
left
be?
eye. Yeah. And
What did it
I
turn out to
actually,
be?
what's that?
What did it turn out to be? What was
Oh,
it?
so I ended up, it's the Penn State match in 2022. So the year after we won nationals. And they sent me straight to the ER. So like I was like in my singlet, like I literally walked off the mat, and then like one of the team doctors like took me straight to the ER. So I was like in my singlet in the ER, and I was watching like I remember watching like Cameron Starachi, like that crazy one of the crazy matches
That was the
on
best match I've ever seen in my
yeah,
life.
yeah.
Ever.
I was watching that I wasn't even in Cobra. I was watching that at the ER, just like sitting there watching it on the TV. And I was like going crazy, and I was like, "What's wrong with this kid?" And I was just like, "No, like that's my roommate." But it ended up I bleeding in my cornea.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I got hit, and and like the blood was filling up. So what it was is my all the blood in the cornea I couldn't see like through my eye. But it also it shows you how much like you can do without even seeing. Like it's all Phil. Like he took a
But
shot, and I just hit a reshot, and he's kind of like
but you gotta have that mindset, man. And that's brands. That's all
yeah,
brands right
a
there,
hundred
man. That's
percent
what
yeah. Yeah, it's all
they
the coaching.
bred
Like
you to
I
be.
I
Yeah.
was just telling myself what they tell us in the room every day. But
Yeah, they bred you guys to be like that, and then that's again that speaks volumes for your resolve and your character to be in a match like that and then basically go blind, like you said, and just still have the intestinal fortitude to say, "Fuck it, man, I'm
yeah,
fine. I'm not dead.
yeah,
I'm breathing. Let's
uh-huh,
wrestle, man.
yeah,
We're doing this." That's incredible, man. What a crazy story, man.
yeah, it's pretty nuts.
That is, man. Now, you see a lot of guys after they graduate or after they leave the school. A lot of them will come back and be offered coaching jobs. Now, um, is that something that you were like wanting to happen, whether it's at Iowa or anywhere else? Is that kind of what you wanted to do, whether you have a regular job but also coach, or did you want to get into coaching? Because a lot of those guys do that.
Yeah, so I definitely want to be involved in wrestling in some aspect. Probably, I mean, I feel like probably for the rest of my life in some way. But a big thing for me is like I got super my last year of Iowa. I got super interested in real estate investing. One of the donors at Iowa actually like took me under his wing and like had a shadow and stuff. And I kind of I was like, I really want to learn this. And then even if I do go into coaching or whatever else I decide to do, like I'll just invest all my money into real estate. So that's what I've kind of wanted to do. And that's the nice thing about Brown and like the RTCs, they kind of offered me the opportunity to be like, hey, you can stay involved in like in wrestling and like push like and also learn this. So I mean, I feel like I'll definitely be involved in some aspect. I mean, I don't know. I mean, honestly, yeah, I'm still trying to figure that part out whether I want to go into coaching or
You got time, man. You got
yeah,
time. You don't have to rush any decisions. I think you're in an unbelievable situation right now. Very fortunate. I wouldn't go nowhere right now. Just let it play out how it's going to play out
yeah.
organically, naturally, and you'll be fine. I have a
I
feeling you'll be
appreciate
fine.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, for
thank you.
sure, man. So before we go, let's talk about Pat's camp
Yeah.
coming up in Miami, June 6th through the 9th, and you're going to be there, right?
Yep. I'll be there the whole time. I'll be helping coach. It's gonna be an awesome camp, man. He's putting in some serious work.
Yeah,
I actually I went back to Iowa City for the first time a couple weeks ago and before nationals actually and like rode down with a couple of those guys and he was working his ass off, man. He's putting a lot of work in. He's doing all the right things and it's gonna be a killing, man. This is gonna be one of the best camps in the country. He's
yeah.
bringing in some really good coaches. It's in an awesome location. Like everything about it, from the gear to the setup to the I think that there might even be a tournament, right? So there's just like, he's killing it, man. So I'm super excited to get down there and work with everyone there, man. It's gonna be a good time. We got some really good coaches. I think he's gonna still announce some more coaches, but
Yep. He
yeah,
just announced you and DeSanto. I just
yeah,
posted it up. So, yeah, it's going to be sick, and it's first
be
class
awesome.
all the way. He's got it
Yeah,
at the Miccosukee Indian Reservation and
yep,
Casino. How sick is that, man?
yeah,
And then he's got the tournament afterwards, which you
yeah,
don't even have to attend the camp to wrestle in the open. So
yeah,
that'll be cool. But yeah, guys, if you're listening to the podcast, June 6th through June 9th will be the Miami Hawks um, wrestling camp, the very first one. And then it's going to be followed by a tournament. You're going to have Max Murin there. You're going to have DeSanto, some other secret people who I know about that we're not going to announce till Pat does. But if you're not there, you're crazy to not be there. But Max, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was really nice to talk to you and get to know you. I'll see you at the camp, so we'll kick it when we get there in person. I got your number, so I'm going to send you a text later tonight with my full name so you can put me in your phone. If you ever need anything on my end down here, please just hit me up and let me know. Like I said, a friend of Pat Lugo's is a friend of ours.
all right. Yeah, hey, I appreciate that. Hey, thanks for having me, man. It was great talking to you and meeting you. I'm excited to meet in person.
Absolutely, man. We'll definitely see you on June 6th, if not before.
Yeah, absolutely. Good talking to you.
All right, you too, Max. You take care.
All right, see ya.
All right, bye. Bye.
Here's 2 reasons why you're not becoming a better wrestler. You're training with the same people, and you're not training in the off-season. I'm Pat Lugo, 2-time Florida State champ, multiple-time Division I All-American for the University of Iowa, and I want to be the first to invite you and your family to this year's Miami Hawks wrestling event. This summer, June 6th through 9th, we'll be hosting a wrestling camp and tournament at the Miccosukee Resort in Miami, Florida. Our event will have over 10 full-size wrestling mats with some of the best coaches and athletes in the nation. We also have a big announcement coming soon, so follow the page so you don't miss out, and click the link in the bio to register.